Well, hey folks, it's your old pal, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. I'm going to do another session summary. Had session 8 of my Spelljammer campaign last night. I didn't do an update for session 7 because the internet last week was being a real bitch, so I guess I'll have to include a little bit of the notes on what happened then. Session 7 kind of steamrolled people through a bunch of scenes just to kind of get everyone back together and on board a ship of their own. Some of the party had remained on Bral, so their original contractor offered to give them a ride when he took his other ship out to go meet the other group of player characters and sidekicks who had been on the frozen ice moon, had retrieved the dragon skin from our little revised, updated version of a Kobold Hall adventure. And they also were able to find a derelict, old, damaged spelljammer and get it yanked out of a swamp. They have a small crew of freed human prisoners that the kobolds were holding, and now everyone's been transferred on to their player character's very first ship, which they get to be in control of. They got to choose who's going to be the officers and all that kind of stuff. And next week, we'll have our first real, completely open-ended adventure. They decided to take the ship back to Nintir, the Ice Moon, so they can see about either stealing some more treasure or finding a place to, give the ship proper repairs, because as of right now, the hull's so damaged it can't really land anywhere. Thankfully, they put Mordenkainen's brain in a jar in the Spelljammer helm, so it'll be able to at least stay afloat at all times in the air, since Mordenkainen doesn't need to sleep or be unplugged. But it's going to be kind of up to them exactly how they want to approach things, where they want to land, set their own mission parameters, all that kind of stuff. I've whipped up some little paperwork for them to fill out for that end. But last night, we returned one last time to the Rock of Brawl with a few of the last sidekick characters that they had met that didn't get to go along on the adventure to the Ice Moon and joined the crew of their new ship. They instead got to experience a massive zombie crawl as the Rock of Brawl continues to fall apart after being cursed by the god Coralon. Thankfully, they chose the sidekick that had the street urchin background so they could cut through alleyways and make it a little bit quicker, but it was a lot of, repetitive fighting against hordes of badly burned bodies in the form of skeleton monster stats. They did get to save one of the Thieves Guild leaders, Ozamata, in a big final epic battle where it came real down close to the wire if they're going to be able to stop this horde of 15 skeletal zombies from attacking Ozamata and his thieves and the commoners they were trying to protect. The thieves fell. All but one of the commoners fell, but Ozamata survived, and the player character survived and made it to their goal of Gift Town, so that they can then hole up until the Royal Navy is able to deploy enough forces to take care of the zombie threat. Based on how little they were able to successfully save any commoners, I've kind of decided that basically while the zombie threat is able to be contained by the various badasses who live on the Rock of Brawl, a rather sizable chunk of the average commoner city population has been decimated. So at this point, between the earthquake and the zombie attack, roughly half of Brawl's population is lost. It's still careening, falling inwards into the solar system they're in. May or may not collide with an asteroid in the asteroid belt as it approaches a desert planet to enter orbit. Next week, because all the characters survived, next week we'll open up with a cold open scene where they'll get a chance to decide Brawl's fate once and for all before we move back on to the guys over at the Frozen Ice Moon. Part of the reason of using all these sidekicks and spreading things out so far, though, is kind of, trying to create a epic, sprawling space epic kind of thing, that first season of Battlestar Galactica, where most of the characters and most of the action was back on board the Galactica or with the fleet traveling out in space, but every once in a while you either have a cutscene or even most of an episode devoted to Hilo and Boomer back on Caprica trying to find their way off to rejoin, the refugee fleet. And so that's kind of the vibe we're going with here. There will be further things to do with the characters from the zombie crawl, but we won't see from them for at least several sessions, depending on how much time passes between sessions, in game time, that is. And now that they have like a fairly sizable crew, and with sidekicks too, they can actually do kind of a Star Trek-y thing, or when they get to a planet, they don't all have to go down the surface. They can send down a little landing party and pick and choose, which either main characters or which of the three sidekicks they have on the ship crew, based on, what kind of skill sets they have and talents and stuff, to kind of personally tailor who's going to go down and deal with whatever the mission is. And so we'll see how that goes. They're low on supplies. Their ship's damaged. It's most of its weapons have been stripped off of it. It has no cargo. They only got like another week's worth of food. So, I mean, they're going to have to deal with a lot of supply issues on top of also having to get their hull repaired and everything else. Plus, whether or not they actually want to help the plight of the poor people of this frozen moon that's been sent into a unnatural ice age by an evil dragon queen. So, your usual D&D stuff. Until next time, stay out there.